Hello, hello, hello. Going live really quickly. Wanting to make sure people are here. Hello, hello, hello. Do we have people here? Let me tell you, this could be set to private. Who knows? Maybe that's why people aren't here. So I'll just talk and then hopefully I'll be able to let everybody know. I'll be able to make it unprivate later. So Lori Vallow has been found competent to stand trial in Arizona. That happened this morning. Really, really big deal. What does it mean? It means that Lori Vallow could absolutely represent herself. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. Sorry, had to just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Yeah, Lori Vallow has been found competent in Arizona. Her upcoming trial that right now is allowed to be televised in Arizona for the shooting death, the murder of her husband, Charles Vallow, her then husband, Charles Vallow. She has first-degree murder charges in Arizona. She has been found competent to stand trial, and tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., Judge Boreski will decide if she can represent herself at this trial. Lori Vallow is requesting to be her own attorney. John and I talked about that this week on Sunday. You can go watch our live about that and what that means, that Lori even wants to represent herself. Well, the biggest issue that was in the way was whether or not she was competent, and Rule 11 and Lori Vallow's attorneys, her new counsel, they're not fighting the idea that she represent herself. In fact, they were in court 2 weeks ago saying, look, Judge, our client's competent. She shouldn't have to have another incompetency ruling. We shouldn't have to check this. She's competent and she can therefore represent herself. I mean, nobody's trying to make sure she doesn't represent herself, is what I'm saying. Like you guys have all heard that she wants to represent herself. Well, nobody's saying this is just not good. Her attorneys are like, yeah, let's find out, let's let her represent herself. She doesn't need a competency hearing. Well, Judge Boreski disagreed, and he said, no, we need to make sure that your client who wants to represent herself is absolutely competent, meaning she knows the charges against her. She can argue in court. She understands the consequences. Like, those all mean competency. Well, according to a hearing today, which was private, it wasn't live streamed on YouTube, she is competent. So again, we got through that. Done and done. What's the next step? Will the judge allow Lori Vallow to represent herself? Some interesting things. Lori Vallow has never waived her right to a speedy trial. And by that, I mean in Idaho, she rejected waiving her right to a speedy trial. That's why in the end, Judge Boyce in Idaho actually had to split the co-defendants, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. He had to actually sever their cases because they were going to be tried together, because Chad waived his right to a speedy trial and Lori Vallow did not. Thus, Judge Boyce's hands were tied. Lori had to go to trial first. And that is also actually why Lori Vallow was not given the death sentence opposed to Chad Daybell, because her attorneys argued they didn't have time to go through all of the discovery that was turned in late. And thus, she did not get the death penalty because of that. Well, here she is in Arizona. She is in Arizona. She is not waiving her right to a speedy trial once again. It has served her well to not waive her right to a speedy trial. She knows that. Their biggest win with her defense team was that now that all is said and done in Idaho, Chad Daybell is on death row and Lori Vallow is not. It has served her well to not waive her right to a speedy trial. So she's not doing that in Arizona. She's saying she's competent. People have agreed this morning she's competent, and tomorrow the judge will decide whether or not she can represent herself. And her counsel, her new defense team, is like, yeah, if our client wants to represent herself, she should be able to. What does that mean? Guys, this is new territory for me. And I always remind you guys, I am not LawTube. I'm a journalist. But what I think it means, you know, until I talk to an attorney and confirm everything, what I think it means is she's going to be, you know, questioning, cross-exam will be with people like the Woodcocks, Melanie Gibb, Zulema Pastenis, all of these people that we've heard about for years. Lori Vallow will be questioning them. She'll be subpoenaing witnesses. She'll be calling them to the stand. She'll be cross-examining them. I also want to know what her defense is. I know that we know what her defense is when it comes to Tylee, because even though she did not, you know, represent herself in Idaho, thus this wasn't necessarily her defense. After all was said and done, after her conviction, she did an interview with her son, Colby Ryan. You can go see that on Colby Ryan's YouTube channel, the entire interview he did with her. And she told him what her defense was and would have been if she had represented herself in Idaho. And that was that the victim, her daughter Tylee, who she murdered, was responsible for the death of herself as well as JJ, her brother. Of course, we know that's not true, and it's despicable, and it's disgusting. But Lori Vallow said this. And that is what Lori has always believed. John and I checked with her, with our defense source. This is what Lori believed from the very beginning. That she, not believed, in her mind, right? I don't know if she really believes it or she's manipulating. This was Lori's defense, and what she states to people happened. And has from the very beginning. But of course, her defense didn't allow her to give that despicable argument, and she didn't represent herself, so she didn't get to give that horrible, horrible defense to killing her 2 children. Arizona is a completely different case. Arizona is Charles Vallow. In Arizona, we don't know what her defense is or what her argument is to killing her own husband that morning. And let me be clear, as far as evidence has shown, it was Alex Cox that pulled the trigger on the gun, not Lori. But Lori conspired and plotted and planned. And Alex Cox is now dead. So what is Lori's defense going to be if she represents herself? We don't know. Is it going to be that he was a zombie? She says she doesn't believe in zombies. Is it going to be self-defense? Because there's a lot of evidence that that's not true. Is it going to be, here's where I'm going. Is it going to be, somebody else's idea? As John pointed out, like Melanie Gibb, Zulema Pastenis, is she going to throw other people under the bus? And I bring this up because, or is it going to be Tylee's fault again? I guess that could be Tylee's fault again. That would be ridiculous. We know that. But this is where I find it fascinating. A lot of people wondered when she was interviewing with Colby Ryan about about blaming Tylee, the victim, her 16-year-old daughter that she brutally murdered. That was brutally murdered by her own mother, and Alex Cox and Chad Daybell. After she did that, many people asked, why not blame Alex Cox? Alex Cox, is deceased. He's a great scapegoat. And it seemed like Chad and Lori wanted to use Alex Cox as their fall guy. Alex Cox suspected as much before he unexpectedly died. So people asked, well, why doesn't she just blame Alex Cox instead of Tylee? Because Tylee's so far-fetched. Alex Cox is kind of makes sense, right? And Dr. John said, because Alex Cox was a warrior. He was a righteous warrior who did what Chad and Lori said, who believed in Chad and Lori, who believed in their BS, who followed and, stuck to the plan. And so, going back to the defense with Charles Vallow, this is just me spitballing, guys. This is me speculating with all of you, knowing this case well, knowing Lori well, knowing what we've seen. What is her defense going to be if she represents herself? And I don't think she would necessarily, if what Dr. John says is true, then she wouldn't necessarily blame Alex Cox, right? Alex Cox is a righteous warrior. So who would she blame? Because we know she's not going to take an ounce of responsibility. So if it was Alex Cox that pulled the trigger, and like, so I have to go back to, like, would she throw Melanie Gibb under the bus? Would she throw Zalema under the bus? Would she throw those Arizona friends of hers and doing all the castings with her under the bus? Would she throw Tylee under the bus? Would she throw Alex Cox under the bus? Would it be purely Charles Vallow and self-defense? I don't know. I don't know. There are so many people that were conspiring. And if she gets on there and starts questioning her friends like Melanie Gibb and Zulema and blaming them, will they tell us what really happened? Will they tell us more? Will we learn more? I know, Diet Coke addict, this is going to be so bad. And right, will she call Chad Daybell to the stand? And what would Chad say? And what would she say to Chad? Will we see their dynamics in play? Yes, Megan Connor, it's good to see you, Megan. Megan is here. Megan, for those that don't know, is Lori Vallow's first cousin. She will throw everyone under the bus. I think she absolutely would, but I don't know if she would throw Alex Cox under the bus. Or Chad, who I believe are her two co-conspirators. Well, we know Chad is her co-conspirator. He's been convicted. Alex Cox died before trial or ever being charged. So I have to say, you know, I speculate that those three are all co-conspirators. So if she won't throw her co-conspirators under the bus, who will she throw under the bus? Again, we find out if this is going to be live streamed tomorrow. We will be live here at Hidden True Crime. So plan on that. We will be live at Hidden True Crime tomorrow. We will live stream the hearing if we're able. I believe we'll be able to, because it's the judge deciding whether or not she's going to represent herself, and he has allowed cameras. So plan on a Hidden True Crime live streaming it tomorrow, 8:30 Mountain. If for any reason the stream goes down and we're not there, either way we'll be live after to talk about it, and we will be up to date, because as I have said this week, and I'm going to keep saying, this case is not over. This case is becoming, first off, Charles Vallow deserves justice, but this is becoming wild. And we are going to learn so much more, I think, if Lori Vallow is given the opportunity to represent herself. So just as many people think that this case is over, it is not. And may we have justice for not just Charles Vallow, but Brandon Boudreaux. That's another person. Melanie Pawlowski. What's going to be up with her? Will she be thrown under the bus? Will Lori protect her? Will she share what really happened? What about Brandon? Brandon's another one. So I just want to say, not just justice for Charles, but justice for Brandon Boudreaux too, who is lucky to be alive. Yeah, Stephanie, I'd be so furious if I were Charles's family and she's allowed to represent herself and turn this into a poop show. I know. And I don't know what they're thinking. God bless everybody involved here, and I hope that everyone's doing okay. I really do. They both deserve justice. All right, guys. I'm going to end this with a disclaimer. This has been Hidden True Crime, speculating with all of you, because it's just unfathomable right now. We will find out what happened. I am not LawTube, but putting all of the pieces together, all of the evidence together, I have questions. So thank you for allowing me to be here with all of you. This is a story that will be continued. Let's keep each other posted and plan to tune in to Hidden True Crime tomorrow or later today if anything else comes down. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.